What's up, everybody? Welcome to a Thursday edition of the Ysn Power Hour. DJ Oakley here. Ty Bartell next to me, still in the pen, in the clink. You got Richie Giuliano making his triumphant return back to the Power Hour. Paul Munson down below, and you've got Billy, Mad Dog, Mad Faced, Matt.
It's a super team. We're a super team here. Look at this five guys.
Super teams are stupid.
We couldn't even make it out of the gates before we started the conversation in pre-show about super teams. We'll get to that in a minute. I want to let you know that today's show proudly presented by K-Squared Marketing. The K-Squared Girl is going to be on with us next week, so make sure you don't miss that show. If you're looking for anything from event marketing to strategic planning for your brand, make sure you give our friends over at K-Squared Marketing a call or visit them on the web over at K-Squared Marketing. Thanks to them and their sponsorship of the Ysn Power Hour. Guys, it's an interesting day because with all the things that are going on in the world, today is National Ratification Day. So I was thinking about how to incorporate this into our show, but I first wanted to because we all know that Betos is out there watching, and he's probably asking Siri right now, what ratification means. So here it is. Ratify, a verb. Sign or give formal consent to a treaty, contract, agreement, making it officially valid. Both countries were due to ratify the treaty by the end of the year. So there you go. There's your lesson of the day for people like Jeff Bezos. So that being said, is there anything that you guys would want to ratify in your own personal lives and make today the stand that says, today I'm going to let bygones be bygones and ratify something that I did in the past? Ty, anything come to mind for you?
I mean, to ratify something in the past, yeah, there's probably one I could definitely think of that I'd like to ratify. Do I want to speak more on it? No, I think everyone kind of knows where I'm going with this train, and this train just happens to go somewhere near the Akron area, so we'll keep it there.
Geolocated. Richie, how about you?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. This is a tough one. You might have to come back to me here.
All right. The golden boy has to think about all the things that he's done wrong in his life. This guy shouldn't. Go ahead.
Listen, I signed one treaty in my life, and it's for life, and I'm done. That's it. I don't need to ratify anything else.
Is that a marriage?
Yes.
I was waiting to be like, is he going to announce it? Or
yeah.
Mac, how about you?
No. I mean, I've done what I've done, and period.
I've done what I've done.
I
sound like Popeye.
I am what I am, and that's all that I am. I've burned some bridges in my day. Some that I'm proud of, some that I'm probably not so proud of. But I'm trying to turn over a new leaf. But I still got the Papa Bear syndrome on me. So if you try to poke the bear a little bit or try to mess with any of my guys or my girls, you're going to get it. So ratify, probably not a whole lot today. So even though we're going to celebrate National Ratification Day of our country in some forms, I guess, I'm not buying in. We should. This is one where Mark Franken should be on the show. He would give us a 50-minute lesson on ratification. Richie, anything?
No, I mean, I guess I'll look back. The mistakes are in the past, and you just got to learn from them.
There it is. Jeff Bezos would not have gotten that at all. He spelled everything right, though.
Yeah.
Except not sure gotten is the right
verbiage there.
Verb. So we gotten a good show for you today. A lot of things to talk about, starting with this one. A lot of people really interested about Urban Meyer. I did not see this one coming. I thought for sure that Urban would take a hard pass when Jacksonville came knocking. But sources close to Mr. Meyer say that he is going to be the next Jacksonville Jaguars head coach. I haven't seen anything official, but does this do wonders to the Jacksonville Jaguars? And are you surprised by this at all? We'll start with you, Ty. Go ahead.
I'm not really surprised by it. I mean, I kind of felt like when Urban stepped back from Ohio State, I feel like the only thing that was going to bring him back to coaching is a pro football team. And I thought if an NFL team came knocking, if he felt it was the right situation, I thought for sure he would be coaching in the NFL. And I mean, I think it's just the entice of seeing that you can have a chance to get Trevor Lawrence and kind of start fresh and kind of build it and build the culture the way you want to build it again. I think that's what's really enticing to Urban in this situation. And I think, he feels like he could really build this team up to the way he wants to and start building the culture around it the way he wants it to be built.
It's interesting to say the least. I in a million years, I never thought that this would be a landing spot for him, given what he gave up, with Ohio State. Richie, I mean, you're an Ohio State fan. Are you surprised at all about this?
Yeah, I kind of have a different take than Ty. I actually am surprised that he's coming back to coach, especially after he's really starting to settle into his broadcasting career, getting paid the big money there to sit in the chair and talk, and I think he does a great job with that. The reason I am surprised is because of his health conditions that he had in the past, and I think everybody knows that he had to take a little bit of a leave when he was at Ohio State just because the stress and the buildup was getting to him so much that he couldn't even coach anymore. So I'm surprised that he is returning, but I see what Ty is saying that, Jacksonville does have that number one pick. They have, I think, over $100 million in cap space, and they have 11 picks in this upcoming draft. So I could see why he would want to come back, especially with the bright future that Jacksonville has. But I'm surprised from, his age and his medical standpoint that he is returning to coach.
I mean, from a standpoint, you hit it on the head, I think, with where he's at from a health perspective. The NFL, and I don't want to say that there's a lot more work in the NFL than there is the NCAA, but it sounds like there is. It sounds like there's a lot longer nights and not hitting the recruitment trail as much necessarily because you don't need to recruit so much. Do you think that this is going to tarnish the legacy of Urban Meyer if things don't go well, Paul?
No, I don't think so. And the thing is, what I was going to talk about is these coaches, especially when you're your big time coaches like this at Ohio State, Texas, Alabama, the big schools, a lot of these big guys, those guys have an arrogance. They have this, all right, I've done this. The next logical step for me is the NFL. How can I go do it in the NFL? And that they at some point they test the waters in it. Saban did it. You go down the list of guys who went from the college ranks to the pro ranks, and they ended up back in the college ranks because they saw it was a lot easier. Even though it sounds like that's crazy, but the pressure is not there as much with an owner or a GM who sits over you and says, this is what we got to do. We got to do this. You got to win now. And they want wins right now. So I think the one thing that helped him was he was a step away from Ohio State. I think a lot of times those guys that make the immediate jump, 1 year they're in college, the next year they're in pro, there's a big adjustment to that. And the adjustment a lot of people don't talk about sometimes, and sometimes they do, is the guys you're coaching now, some of them are making more money than you are. They're all making money, and they're all at some point a millionaire somewhere along the line. So it's hard to sit there in a room and tell a bunch of millionaires this is what you want them to do. And if they're like, dude, we don't give a shit about what this guy says. So I don't know. I don't like his philosophy, but I'm still getting paid. So I'm going to go just, go out there and play. Whereas the college kids, they sometimes can hang on every word you say, and you really have got their attention because they know they want to get to that next level. So I think him taking a little break may help him adjust to coaching those guys who are making a lot of money. I don't think it tarnishes his reputation, even if he goes there and he stinks for a year or two or three or whatever it is. He made his reputation winning games when, he was at Bowling Green, when he was at Utah, when he was at Florida, and obviously Ohio State. So he's made his legacy by winning a national championship and stuff. So I don't think it bothers him too much if he goes there and stinks for a little bit.
I think he's going to have a hard time relating to professionals. It's hard to relate to guys like that. You said, Paul, they're making more money than he is. And sometimes there's a lot of ego in that room that there isn't in the NCAA ranks. So, Billy, Ohio State, Jacksonville, there's two different cultures, two different traditions. And two way different expectations from year to year. How does Urban Meyer handle the fact that Jacksonville has never won a title?
Yeah, I mean, the team got basically dismantled. It kind of reminds me of the Florida Marlins years ago, from going from the AFC Championship game to, I don't even know if there's any players on that team left on that roster. So they're basically in rebuild mode. It ain't going to happen overnight. I mean, as a Browns fan, we all definitely know that. It's going to take some time. You know, you can ask Nick Saban how it's harnessed his career from him going to Miami. I would say he's doing just fine. With Urban's going to be the same. He'll always be remembered as a college guy, unless he goes and does like a Jimmy Johnson move where he goes and wins the Super Bowl, which looking at that roster as it stands right now, that's not going to happen anytime soon. But yeah, I think Urban will be fine. I think his adjustment's going to be is when these guys are, you know, I got to get 25 carries a game, and that's a bonus for me. How does he deal with that conversation with guys that if I get 1,000 yards, I get an extra $1 million bonus? You know, I always remember the Lawrence Taylor any given Sunday. Don't drop me. I'm worth $1 million. All right. So what are you going to do when that guy says, I need 5 touches this game to get my bonus? And coach says, hey, we're trying to win a football game. That player's going to go, give me my 5 touches.
Well, I'm just kind of curious what you guys think if Trevor Lawrence going to Jacksonville, does Urban Meyer help or hurt that kind of development of him? Because I feel like, I mean, I said it before, I thought he's on that teeter-totter where he has potential to be great, but he also has potential to really suck it up too. I don't know if Urban Meyer's going to be the right guy for him, if that's going to help him.
I mean, where in Urban Meyer's career has he ever done wrong to a quarterback? I mean, Alex Smith, first overall pick in the draft, Tim Tebow, Heisman winner, you know, JT Barrett, Big Ten.
But I mean, it's a different game NFL wise than it is.
But I'm saying, what part of his career have you seen that he does not do well with quarterbacks?
I'm not saying that's why I'm saying it kind of leaves it up in the air. He does a great job developing.
I don't think he does leave it up in the air. I think that's the question. I think the quarterback position is fine. I think it's the rest of the pieces of who you're going to put around you to make everybody else better. The quarterback position is going to be fine. He's never shown me any doubt that he can't coach a quarterback.
So let me ask you this, and we'll go with EB first because he's joining us with a sweet-looking haircut from Clientele, I'm guessing. Does this change anything in the draft? Do we start looking at Justin Fields a little bit because he's a guy that you came up with? You know, he brought him in basically to Ohio State. He knows what he has with Justin Fields. We heard rumors early on that Jacksonville might like Justin Fields. Is Trevor Lawrence a stamped number 1 in this draft, or does this shake things up a bit with Urban Meyer?
I don't think it really shakes too much up. If you go Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields, I mean, you're going 1 or 2. It's either way, it doesn't matter. I think Urban Meyer in this situation is going to be as good as who he puts on his staff. And that's a lot of NFL. You know, it's always about the coordinators and people that you build around you. Urban Meyer is just a figurehead. And whether you give him Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields, I think he feels equally as good with either one. You know, the only thing that's drawing him to Justin Fields is his Ohio State roots. But outside of that, you know, if you weren't going to get Justin Fields, you go Trevor Lawrence, who is arguably the best college quarterback of all time. And I say college quarterback, I'm not saying he's going to be the best NFL quarterback, but you know, you take what is the best available. So you obviously go Trevor Lawrence in that aspect, and there's not much that really differs between him and Justin Fields. I mean, they both can run a little bit. They both have big arms. You know, there's a lot of similarities between the two. If he picks Justin Fields, then it's just because of Ohio State roots.
So, Billy, you talked about the trouble or lack of trouble that Urban Meyer's had with quarterbacks, but we've gone on record on this show and said that Ohio State hasn't necessarily had the best quarterback success in the NFL. Is there a fear for Ohio State fans? I guess they don't care, naturally, but can Urban Meyer make the jump from college to the pros? And from the timeline, would he, if he wasn't successful, go back to the college ranks and try to shine up his image from being one of the best coaches of all time?
What's the question? The question is if he doesn't work it out, then does he go back to coach college level?
Can he make the transition? I mean, his quarterbacks really haven't, outside of Alex Smith. His quarterbacks have not made the transition into successful NFL quarterbacks. Can he make the transition into a successful NFL coach?
I think he'll be okay. I mean, again, I think it's going to be a matter of putting the right pieces in place. I mean, you look at coaches throughout the league, a lot of it is when you're the head coach is you got to find a way to delegate correctly. You know, you can't – a lot of times these guys that are head coaches and they want to be offensive coordinators, they don't really pan out. They don't really work. You have to be in control of your whole team and your personnel, not just, you know, can you call plays and can you develop a quarterback or can you develop a running back or what? You know what I mean? So it's not necessarily that. There's a lot of things that go into it, a lot different than just like a college where you can kind of be in control of the offense and also be the head coach and basically just focus on that.
Okay. Any last thoughts on Urban Meyer and his jump to the unofficially so far to the Jacksonville Jaguars? Final thoughts.
I'll just say I think that it helps already being a head coach. I mean, you see a lot of coordinators in college end up being NFL coaches, and that doesn't plan out. I mean, you even see coordinators in college be head coaches in college. I mean, prime example, Tom Herman, one of the best offensive coordinators in football, was the OC at Ohio State, went to Texas, tried to be their head coach, and then he got fired in the next couple of years. So I think it helps Urban Meyer that he already has like what is it, 10, 12 years as a head coach. So I think that helps.
I'm going to see what I'm really interested to see who he surrounds himself with. EB with a great point there. If it's less about who you are and more about who you surround yourself with. I got to imagine that the majority of guys that he's had around him for a while are not going to make the jump from Ohio State to Jacksonville, but we will see.
At least he's not going to have to worry about no NCAA violations.
This is true. But with that health thing, I am a little bit worried. Is it really about his health?
We had a local coach
violation? You know, it's all the same. You know, health thing, NCAA violation. It's all bundled together.
Well, I mean, he could lose a lot of money if he doesn't put that mask on. We've all seen earlier this year. So, all right, let's get to what I don't want to talk about. The Steelers cleaning house today. I've got a picture. Hang on. I've got a picture because this is the only thing I'm happy about. See you later, Randy Fichtner. See you later. Bye-bye. I hate you being at Ben's buddy. You never should have got that job. The worst offensive coordinator in football. He is gone. The offensive line coach for the Steelers is gone, and also the defensive back coach for the Steelers is gone. Ironically enough, Mike Tomlin remains, and just a bundle of gas in the furnace right now for the Steelers because this thing could explode at any time. With Juju Smith-Schuster doing what Juju Smith-Schuster does, saying that he might want to go to a LA or New York to better his brand, not worry about football, but worried about his TikTok videos. Are the Steelers' dark days coming? Do you feel like the dark days?
Who hires the coordinators for the Steelers?
Kevin Colbert, the general manager, officially.
So it's not the coach.
Typically,
it's not Tomlin.
Typically, It's not Tomlin. Tomlin didn't like Todd Haley, if you remember correctly. He was not a crazy about that. Steelers should sign Coach Mack.
Thanks, Nate. You're a stud.
So we got that going for us.
Punt the ball. It's first down. Punt the ball.
This quarterback stinks. How are we not beating him? He stinks.
I'm doing an inside job for the Browns. Punt it on first down. Give him the ball.
Do we feel like the dark days are ahead of Pittsburgh, or is this something that's just okay? You're doing some spring cleaning, so to speak, after the season is over.
I think chaos is coming their way.
I think so too,
because you have a quarterback who's going to come back probably for 1 year to cash a big check with a new offensive coordinator, and his line's going to have a brand new line coach. For 1 year, I think they're going to limp through it, and then he's going to be gone. And now you're going to go you got to try to find a new quarterback for your team, and hopefully then that'll be year 2 of this O coordinator, and he's going to have to start over with a brand new quarterback, unless you're able to find some mid-veteran quarterback out there who's willing to come to Pittsburgh, and you say, and just bring somebody in who's going to like bridge the gap between your new guy that you're going to have to draft. I mean, I think
I feel like this is normal for a team that had expectations. And only reason why I say expectations is because the Steelers won, and then two, is they started off 11-0, and then things kind of crumbled for whatever reason, for whatever purpose that it happened. I think that they're going to try to make some transition and bring in some coaches and a couple pieces. I seen that the Steelers have the most players entering free agency on any team in the league. So, I mean, maybe it's a good thing. It could be a good thing. They can get some new pieces and some young blood in there and kind of revamp that roster.
What is Betos' obsession with trading Matthew Stafford? Like, that's the only thing he ever says.
It really wouldn't be a bad trade. Cap-wise, it probably wouldn't make any sense.
I thought about this yesterday. I don't know if it would work cap-wise or not, but if Wentz is available or Wentz out of Philadelphia that bad, do you try to trade for him?
I forget the 5 quarterbacks they had. Deshaun Watson was one of them. Darnold was another. Carson Wentz. There was 2 other ones. Stafford was one of them. But, like, listen, we've had, 18 years of Roethlisberger? And people, like, after the game on, what was that, Sunday night? Retire, man. Retire. Do you realize, like, do fans realize that once Roethlisberger retires, there's no franchise quarterback sitting on the bench. I don't care what Mason Rudolph does. He's not Ben Roethlisberger. He's not. And you've got to be really bad. There was a point during the Washington game that Chase Young came over to Mike Tomlin, and Mike Tomlin looked him up and down and said, I never want to be that bad to draft a guy like you, because that's got to be a bad year to draft someone that looks like a freak like you. So
it was a compliment.
It is a compliment, but it's also a I never want to be that bad. And sometimes for teams to win a championship, you're going to have to take a 2-14 season or a 3-13 or a 5-11 season. And that's not going to go well in Pittsburgh. The last losing season, I think, was 6-10. And that cost Bill Cowher his job. So I don't. And Bill Cowher's a Hall of Fame coach. So think about that. Like, think about what the cost is for that. I mean, and I think that's when they got Roethlisberger, quite honestly. But this has been coming for a long time. Polamalu retires, Hines Ward retires, all those big names retire. You can't stay young forever. You know, it's amazing that Roethlisberger, the way he was early on in his career, survived this long. But
the only problem with those quarterbacks that you talked about is the simple fact that Big Ben hasn't came out and said he's retired. So you're not going to put Big Ben's cap plus Wentz or one of those guys on there. So Big Ben has to retire, and he doesn't have to do any of those things. So until he makes that decision, you got Big Ben. I mean, that's just what it is. Unless you were able to, even if you were able to restructure his deal, he's not going to take a $5 million cap. $5 million a year just to play out 1 year. So you couldn't bring on somebody like a Wentz who's going to be like I think he's a $32 million cap hit this year, somewhere in that ballpark.
Go get Haskins. Let him sit.
Haskins is not a bad. Yeah, we've all talked about
he's already had 2 years. 2 years, I guess, to see what doesn't work in Washington or what does and hasn't worked with him. You put him a year behind Roethlisberger. He's still on his rookie contract, so you're not taking a hit really there. Ben retires, takes his $40 million and his pony and goes home. And then I think you still get 1 more year of Haskins on his rookie contract, or you can structure it favorable for the program because he hasn't proven anything. And plus Haskins doesn't have an agent right now, so he's going to bet on himself, and you work it backwards.
Let's just face it, he's not that smart. So we might be able to coax him into a $20,000 or whatever the minimum is in the NFL to come play some football for us. I mean,
DJ, 03 was the last time they had a losing record, and they were 6-10. Cowher's next 2 years, he lost the conference title, going 15-1, and then they won a Super Bowl with Cowher. And then in 06, they were 8-8, and that was his last year.
That's what it was, 8-8. I remember the 6-10 year because that's how we got Roethlisberger.
But
Because
then
he came in and went
2012, 2013, 8-8, and then last year, 2019, 8-8.
Also, Bill Cowher wanted Phillip Rivers, and that's when my hatred for Phillip Rivers began. So just letting you know. Breaking news from Jeff Bezos: Washington released Dwayne Haskins. So
I think he's relating to like he's not on a contract anymore. You have to sign him. I'm not sure how that works when you're on that rookie deal. I'm sure Washington's eating most of that right now, but I'm not sure how that works out when you release a rookie.
They can only sign him in the offseason. If they were going to sign him, they had until like Thursday or something of like their last regular season game to get him off waivers. But since no one claimed him off waivers, he's just, I believe, an unrestricted free agent. So once the season is officially over, I think he can go really wherever he wants to.
I say the Steelers give 2 firsts, 2 thirds, and
to Watkins.
go get Watson. This segment of the program sponsored proudly. Oh, let's get that out of there. Make sure.
You're on Watson.
Yeah, let's go get Watson. This part of the show proudly presented by Myers Family Insurance, Medicare, Life, Retirement, 330-286-3044. Make sure you give our good friends over at Myers a call today. Their heavy season is over, so they've got all kinds of time for you and make sure that your insurance and you are taken care of for your future. There's nobody better to bet on than yourself. You insure your home, you insure your car, you insure your jewelry. Make sure you're insuring yourself. Myers Family Insurance, proud sponsors of your sports network. Paul, I'm going to let you do that one next time. You got great ties in there with the Myers, Ann and Jim.
Hey, who's their all-time leading scorer? Do you know?
Who?
Steelers.
What? Ask Ty. Don't ask me. Gary Anderson, right?
Yeah, it's Gary Anderson. You're right.
That's why I retire as champion. That's why I'm the host. This is going to be an interesting topic. We talked about this a little bit in pre-show. Super teams. Naturally, now here in the NBA, another super team has been formed, so to speak. The Brooklyn Nets trading yesterday for James Harden. He will join Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. And funny enough, the Cavs got in on that trade, sneaking a center and a guard as well? A forward. In that trade for practically nothing. So Victor Oladipo is on the move, going from Indianapolis to Houston. So, I mean, a big trade, blockbuster as they call it, but it also gets back to the super team, which we talked about in our pre-show. Ty, you have an interesting take on super teams. We'll let you have it, and then you will get absolutely murdered for your opinion.
I think I said too, and I think it's killing the NBA. As the competitiveness in the league, I think the only competitiveness you see are the playoffs, and you'll see it maybe in the Western and Eastern Conference Finals, and then eventually the finals. But as far as like actual competitiveness throughout the regular season, killing the league. And I think that it started when Kevin Durant went and joined a 73-9 Warriors team in his offseason because he couldn't beat them in the Western Conference Finals. And then ever since then, it's gone downhill. And it was the same thing with LeBron bringing AD.
I just want you to clarify what started with Kevin Durant. That's what I want you to go ahead and clarify for us. What started when Kevin Durant went to the Warriors?
What do you mean? What started? It formed the super team that was going to destined to win a championship.
So that was the first ever super team.
I think the whole problem started with Kevin Durant joining a 73-9.
No.
What about Miami?
Listen, the question is very simple. When Kevin Durant went to the Golden State Warriors, that was the first ever super team.
In your opinion, Ty?
In my opinion, the first super team. There was big threes before that, sure. And big threes.
We're tap dancing. Just answer the question.
I said yes. It's the first super team. If your definition of a super team is the same as mine, sure.
What's your definition of a super team?
A super team is when you have 5 legitimate all-stars that are playing on a singular team.
So 3
or a team that's destined to win a championship. Yeah, and I mean, if you include Andre Iguodala, I think the Warriors had 5 legitimate All-Stars.
I don't think anybody's ever confused Andre Iguodala with a superstar.
I didn't say. I said 5 legitimate All-Stars on a team.
How many All-Stars did Miami have, though?
I'd say 3. Ray Allen was past his prime.
I don't know about that.
I'd say that. And like I said too, and what I said before, Miami was 47-35 when they got LeBron and Chris Bosh. And LeBron going to Miami is not the same as Kevin Durant going to the Warriors.
Yes, it is.
It is
Yes,
not. How?
It's probably worse, honestly.
Kevin Durant went from a team that was already in the Western Conference Finals up 3-1 on the Warriors, choked in the Western Conference Finals, and went to a 73-9 team. LeBron came from a team that had absolutely no help on the team. The owners did not give him any help. Who was the best players on that team besides LeBron? Billy Mack, answer me that. Who are the
On the Cavs?
On the Cavs,
who are the next
On
two
the
scorers?
Cavs?
I'm asking Billy Mack this. Who are the next 2 scorers but behind LeBron on that team? 2009-2010 Cavs team. Who was
That
it?
team stunk. That was a bad team.
And Mo Williams were the last
Right.
were the 2 best scorers.
You
Who
watch
was
right.
on
Mo
Kevin
Williams.
Durant's team? 2015 to 2016. Who was on Kevin Durant's team?
You're getting real excited on a team like that's. What does that have to do with them? With
That has
leaving? I
all
mean,
the things to do. Why LeBron went to Miami is way different than why.
okay,
Kevin
so you're justifying him leaving. That's great, but the whole conversation piece is you're saying he didn't start a super team, and he did.
Here you go, Paige. This is for you, by the way.
And Michael
I
Page.
think-
Are you saying LeBron is the one who started the super
Yeah,
team?
there's
though?
3 of them that all went and left from their.
Not really, because we
if you're
mentioned
gonna do
before.
that, then you got to go back to Boston and Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett.
Los
Yeah.
Angeles.
We did, yeah, we did put pregame. We were talking about them. That was
Yeah.
my initial.
And Michael
start.
Page, I'm sorry, you are delusional to say that the Bulls started it. They drafted those guys. There
They
wasn't
didn't
like
draft Dennis Rodman.
Oh, okay.
That was the only one. Yeah, they didn't draft Dennis Rodman.
He's going to talk about Jordan and Pippen and those guys. They drafted all those guys to get there and made that team. They didn't.
He
sit
said
there.
that. He said that just because I'm wearing the Bulls jersey.
Yeah, okay. I was going to say, if he truly believes that, then he needs to wake up because that was stupid.
Yeah.
The super team, LeBron started a super team as well. The Boston thing was a bunch of those guys. I think they just all needed. Kevin Durant needed a championship, and he knew he wasn't going to get one in Minnesota, so he just tried to jump on with the team
OKC.
that did-
Kevin Garnett.
or Garnett,
Kevin Garnett, if you're talking about the Celtics, yeah.
Garnett with Boston. But LeBron and them did that because that was all those guys sitting there on their yachts, all talking, going, "Hey boys, let's all get together and hang out and go do this." Yeah, come to
It's
Miami,
not.
let's
It's
go.
just not the same as Kevin Durant going.
Here's the
want to go hang
issue.
out with Paul on a yacht because he just did.
Yeah.
The problem is the NBA flourishes in the super team era. Like they have great ratings for these teams. So when Golden State was on TV, they were bumping through the roof. They're on prime time, and all kinds of people are watching them. So it's hard for the NBA to sit here and say, "Well, it's killing the sport." I don't really know if it's doing that. Yeah, it's the same teams kind of in there, sure, but you can say that about a lot of other teams. I mean, the Patriots won how many Super Bowls?
Not saying that, but I'm
So it's not the Patriots winning all the Super Bowls didn't necessarily hurt the sport. The same thing you could say about Golden State. I mean, one of the greatest sports stories of all time is the Cavs beating that great team, that 73-win team. So
I would also say
It's killing small markets, maybe.
exactly. Here, sorry, go on, EB. I'll let you
how
talk.
did San Antonio do with that small market?
Here's what a lot of people don't realize is you can sit here and talk about super teams, the big threes, this and that. Like there's been big threes before all this ever happened. What LeBron, Bosh, and Wade did is it was the start of the social media super teams because that's where the blow up came from. It's a big media, Twitter. He televised it. He did everything. He did it for the publicity. Like you got all the publicity before LeBron did that. You had to hear about the big three going to Boston. You had to wait for it to come out on ESPN. Before anything that happened in the 80s or 90s, you had to wait for it to hit the news. Now it was so quick and so mainstream. That's all you ever heard about, and that's all these ESPN and all these sports media outlets didn't let you not hear about it. So that's where LeBron and that whole thing comes into play. I see what Ty's saying. Like Durant went to a team that was already proven, and he went to it easy way out, this and that. I mean, you can't tell me, look, if when I played in high school and whoever was super good, Sebring was actually really, really, really good. If Joey James would have came up to me and been like, hey, man, we just lost in the state Final Four. Come play with us, and we're for sure winning the title. I'm totally probably going to think about it, and I can't say that you guys wouldn't say the same thing either. Like,
the Lakers have done this forever. I mean, you look at this, Kareem, Magic, worthy, but weren't they were drafted, correct?
Well, Kareem started off in
Kareem came from the Bucks.
Okay,
Yeah.
so, but here's another one that people, Steve Nash, Dwight
Stoudemire.
Where's Stoudemire?
Wasn't he on it? Was he?
Pau Gasol, Kobe, Dwight Howard, and Rod Artest.
Lakers.
Pretty good team.
Oh, that's
Steve Nash with Lakers.
Then you have Karl Malone, Kobe, Shaq, Gary Payton. Pretty good team.
Yeah.
What I'm saying,
and you can look at that in any sport. I mean, we talk about these super teams in basketball and stuff. Look at what the Yankees and them do. They go out there and they get all the all-stars they can to try to win. I mean, it what it basically does is it ruins your small market teams. Your small market teams, it makes it almost impossible sometimes for them to compete because these guys all want to go get on one team and try to win championships.
My issue with it, though, and this is what I said, you're going to build up the brand, and that's what I said this before the show. What Adam Silver wants to do is build the brand of the NBA, and I get that, but you sacrifice the competitiveness in the league, and it's not the same as the Patriots making it all those times. The Patriots making it was an outlier. That never happens in the NFL. How many in NBA, how often has back-to-back championships happened compared to the NFL and the MLB? In recent seasons, it's almost MLB and NFL. You could pick from a list of teams that might win it. And MLB, different players can do different things at different years. Very rarely is it hard to get consistency in MLB. NFL, you're always one injury away from being that. NBA, it's almost consistent. If you have these players on your team, you can almost name who the Final Four are going to be every single season in the NBA. That's where it's different from MLB and NFL, I think, because in NBA, like I said, there's been way more back-to-back and three-peat championships in the last.
Name another sport that is all-star driven. That it's more on the players than any other sport. It's the NBA.
Well, statistically speaking, you got 5 players on the court, so every player is that much more.
So, I mean, the players are more valuable to their sport as the NBA is compared to other ones. So, I mean, there's not talents like LeBron James can almost, and we've already seen it, can carry a team all the way to the finals. I mean, that's how good he is compared to everybody else. And then you got talents like Kevin Durant who can do the same thing, basically. So you don't have that value to another sport. So that's why what you're saying to me is not going to work.
I just want to know how you don't consider the Miami Heat a super team.
I'm saying the reason why I don't say it's a super team is because they kind of formed together and there wasn't anything well established there already.
So they picked where they wanted to go, and then they created a super team just because they got millions more dollars because they didn't have tax cuts.
Well, I mean, I get if you want to consider it, yeah, I guess you can. But I consider my definition of a super team. The reason why I say Golden State was like that is because of the depth of the roster. And like I said, there was big threes, and then there was the super team. And I think the super team was having 5 legitimate all-stars all playing on
so
a
really,
team.
You only think there's one super team, and it was the Golden State team, and that's it?
No, because I do think I do. Well, now I think that the Nets have a pretty fair thing. I mean, there you got
there's 3 guys. Who else?
Oh, I would take the Heatles over this Brooklyn team.
I mean, maybe, but I don't know. I guess just if you want to say that super team wise, I don't know. I just feel like Golden State was on a completely different level, and I think them getting Kevin Durant it was different than LeBron going to the Heat.
Well, Golden State's offensive system was completely different too. I mean, if you're really going to break it down, their version of small ball absolutely destroyed the NBA because you couldn't really guard a lot of what they were doing. But I mean, to say that the Miami Heat weren't established before the big 3 is kind of asinine because they won a championship in 2006 and they had Dwayne Wade and tanked Shaq, and that was all on the back of Dwayne Wade, more or less, and that's really what pushed him to stardom. I think naturally the big three or these super teams or whatever they are is just it's the norm anymore.
And that's why I have a problem with the NBA is that is it's more about who's going to win the next three-peat than it is the next championship. And
they're not selling you the game; they're selling you the product.
Yeah, no, you're right. I understand that it's about building a brand, but like I say, the more you build the brand, you kill the competitiveness within the league itself.
I don't think the NBA is less popular than it's ever been here in America. I know you said something about China. Like there's nothing that obviously Americans can do about that, but the ratings for the NBA finals were terrible. Absolutely. We might have been the only people in America watching them when we watched it at HQ that night. And there's something to be said for that. People were tired of seeing the same old crap all the time. And the Nets didn't make it any better yesterday. They just didn't, in my humble opinion. But and somebody said this, who was it? Paige, saying Kyrie might never return. So then what do you got? What did you trade for?
I think they traded for insurance too. And I don't know. I honestly think they might perform better without Kyrie than they will with him.
Well, I seen today that if Kyrie keeps this thing going where he's personal reasons of not showing up, they're going to be able to get rid of his contract without any penalty.
Kyrie needs like a Greg Popovich or someone that's going to just stay on his ass and not let this kind of slacking off happen, or just be like, well, then don't play basketball. Then you're off the team. Like you just need someone that's going to stay on him because ever since he left the Cavs, this dude's been weird.
He's been weird before he left the Cavs.
I mean he was never at the rate he is now.
He said the Earth was a square, was flat. Like he said that with the Cavs.
I always thought Kyrie was weird when there was a video. I can't remember if it was when he got his extension, his first ever big signing after his rookie contract, or when LeBron said that he was coming to Cleveland. Like he was just hammered drunk. Like somebody was just watching him, just taping him, hammered drunk. And he was just like spaced out. Kyrie's he's a weird cat, just a weird cat. And, if he doesn't come back for this, if he doesn't come back for an opportunity to rule the East, dude ain't coming back. But he doesn't like to be number two.
He doesn't like to be number three either.
Yeah,
he wouldn't.
He's not a team guy.
He's not. He's going to be number three in that system because that's Kevin Durant's team first, and it's Harden second. So
yeah, no doubt.
And what Chris Ziegler said too about the NBA, that comment right there, yeah, all day. I'd rather have that because at least players.
When were you born?
No, but back then, players are loyal to their teams, and the competitiveness between the league is much greater.
Free agency wasn't what it is now.
Oh, I hate.
And guys played hard. You know what I mean? Like you didn't have a guy like the other night. I was watching a highlight where it showed LeBron went into the lane, the guy swiped at the ball, bumped him on the forehead, and you would have thought like he just got shot. It was. And hit the ground and he's hanging there like this for 20 minutes and gets up and you watch the replay. It was like he got bumped on the forehead. It's like, are you serious? I mean, come on. 80s and 90s basketball, yeah. I totally agree. Now, I did get to see a lot of 80s and 90s basketball. Those guys, you want to come in the lane? You want to come in the lane, you're going to come in the lane. You're going to get jacked. But, I mean, hey, God bless you. Now you go in the lane and just, oh my God.
And I'll be honest too. I've been watching too the Cavs a lot this season, and I didn't watch much last year, but I watched the Cavs a lot this season. And when Sexton, Garland, and if we can get Porter back, I was actually excited. I was watching them. Was like, this is a team at least in the East. I mean, I don't think we were going to beat the Bucks or like the Celtics. But I was like, we could give those teams a run. I think we can go. I think we could take them 6 games, and then they made the trade for Brooklyn. I was like, I'm done. I don't want to watch it. I have no interest, zero interest in watching the Cavs anymore because it's like, what's the point now? Because we already know who the top 3 teams in the East are now. There's no point in watching it.
Well, and the Cavs have like 7 centers right now too.
Yeah, the Cavs. Yeah, and then they make the trade to get another center, and then it's like we still have Drummond hanging on, and I was like, I'm done.
Maybe they're trying to go back to the '90s game where your centers were everything. Remember, Michael Jordan was huge knock against the Bulls because he wasn't a center, he wasn't a big man. So we'll see. I'm on the Bulls bandwagon.
One pro sport that could go away, and I could care less.
Really?
Yeah, I can't stand the NBA. Out
of big sports or all sports?
Like, if the NBA went away, like, okay, you say the Big Four here in America, yeah, that's ranked 4th. That is like the anchor of the sports.
What do you got? I'm guessing baseball, football, hockey, basketball.
If you rank those 4, absolutely, yeah.
That's what I was guessing yours.
College would be in there way before anything else too. The NBA is a joke anymore. It just really is. Like Ty said, you can sit there and name the top 2 or 3 teams that are going to finish in the division every year, and then who's going to play in the finals. And
that's exactly what I was saying too, and that's why I say it's so much different than like football or baseball. You can name 4 teams pretty much. And from year to year, you can look at it before the season and be like, one of those 4 teams are winning a championship. And about 90% of the time, I'd say you're right.
Well, the Cleveland fans are about to find out that they're going to be on the outside looking in for the baseball championship after a nice, credible run. You'll join the ranks of us Pirate fans, which just watching baseball and just loving it for the sport and not necessarily for your team doing big things.
I got applications for the Padres if y'all are interested.
You disgust me.
Get the hell out of here, Mac.
I could care less about the NBA. If they pulled it, I wouldn't lose any sleep, says Coach Seidel. So he's with you, Muntz.
Yep.
Let's not sit here and say the MLB isn't almost the same. No,
it's crazy. It's crazy to say that because if you watch some of the NBA players, you're looking at athleticism at its finest. Like some of the greatest athletes that walk the face of the earth are playing in the NBA right now.
I would argue hockey, but I digress.
And Billy, we're not saying that like they're not good athletes, but it's
no. I know that. I'm just saying that when you guys are sitting there saying I could do without, like I don't know if I could because there's certain things that I'll just never be able to witness. And seeing guys jump over 10 feet high is one of them that you won't see on any other field of play.
Well, let me ask you this. From this perspective, what is the biggest difference between college basketball and the NBA? Because there is a following, and people are adamant about college basketball. But there is a serious drop-off to the NBA.
Well,
I don't know. I think it's probably a combination of things.
With college football, those guys are trying to get to the next level.
Yeah, they play.
They are hustling. They are doing the best they can to get to that next level. When you get to that next level and you're getting a paycheck, sometimes your desire might fall off a little bit because I'm getting paid. I still got to be an athlete and I still got to be good, but you know what? I don't have to try as hard as I did as a college kid. And
I feel like you're trying harder because now you don't have the classes, and this is like your one job. Your one job is being an athlete.
From a fan perspective, it's just that March Madness is something to watch. Like it's just one of the most amazing things you can watch in sports. You get almost every type of emotion that you want from it. You get the underdog winning, the 2 seed beating a 15 seed. You get a 1 seed that can run the table. That's pretty good. That everybody can get behind. You find the Kent States in there going on a run to the Elite Eight. You get all kinds of things that you're looking for in a story at a March Madness, and it's one of the greatest spectacles that you can watch. I don't know if the NBA – I mean, the problem with me I have with the NBA is that when you talk about these teams that are going to win is if you kind of went to a one-and-done situation, that's not going to happen every time.
It's different. It would be way more interesting. Open it up and then just go one and done, and then, yeah, for sure. I mean, the way I feel about the NBA, and even though I reap the benefits from this, I feel the same way about college football. With the new playoff system since it got implemented in 2014. You can almost guarantee that you can name 4 teams that are going to make the top 4 in college football, and most of the time you're going to be right about around 3 of them. And that's the same problem I have with it. Even though it needs
to go to 8 teams. But I will say this before we close up the conversation on basketball. I think basketball is the best game out there. I think it's the best sport. I just think that it has the most divas. I mean, is that the right word? The biggest ego in the professional ranks, and that's where I've really failed to find the difference between college and pro. Is a lot of these college kids don't have egos. And all of a sudden they find it in the pros. So, trying to figure out where they get that, where they garner that from, I don't know. But I've always loved the game of basketball. To watch it is just Billy Mack's dead on. I mean, it's the most graceful sport there is around. I mean, the things that you can do, the runs you go, it's a game of runs, and you're not always going to get it. Baseball is a very difficult sport. Hockey is an extremely difficult sport. And football is it's a competitive sport, right? It's the uber competitive sport, but basketball is the most beautiful sport. I'll argue that up and down all day. But I just don't understand how it's changed so much. I mean, you think about the first time LeBron was in Cleveland, it's a completely different sport than it is now. And then you think back to the days of Jordan, you think back to the days of Kareem, and some of you guys weren't born yet. I wasn't necessarily born yet when in his prime, but you look at how the game has changed. It's the game that changes the fastest, right? It's completely changes based on who's involved and the big players, and I think that's.
To kind of comment on what you're saying, and I mean, I don't want to just keep hating on him, but I kind of think it's Adam Silver trying to, like I say, he's building this brand of the NBA, right? And he wants it to be like a global, worldwide thing, and he wants just everyone talking about the NBA. And then all of a sudden, you see these athletes getting involved in like politics, and then all of a sudden, it's athletes that care about the way you got to care about how you dress and how you present yourself to like a global stage. And I feel like that's just backed by them trying to build this brand.
Well, that's kind of your difference between, if you want to know the difference between NCAA and NBA, it's the brands. Well, look back to the 80s and 90s. Like Jordan's shoe deal, like that was the first or one of the newer ones. Now look at your mediocre players. They still get their own custom shoes, and they still have people saying, hey, I want you to come talk for my car dealership or do this or that. It's the branding that's changed. And that's when you have these kids go from playing at Kentucky, now they're playing for Milwaukee or Dallas or whatnot. They have anyone and everyone in their ear saying, hey, let me shove some money in your pocket. So that's where the change has come. It's not, I always said, if you take an average high school player, the difference between D3, D2, and D1 is the speed. It's generally the speed and the work ethic. When you get to the D1 level, everyone's at the same speed. Now, when you get to the end, when you go from NBA, from NCAA, D1, or whatever it may be, the athleticism, the speed, and the physical gifts are always on the same level, or they're comparable. Now, the stardom comes to, you get your freaks, you're 1% of the 1%. But when you get those guys to make the jump, they get the brand. You get the agent. You get people putting money in your pocket. You get, the cameras and everything in front of you the whole time. That's the huge difference. That's what it is anymore.
I miss Jimmer Fredette. That's all I know. That's going to do it. Final thoughts on this before we go to the filet or beef brought to you by G Burger Farms.
The Heat was a super team.
Okay. Ty, you good with that? You gonna let that be the bow?
Well, we'll come back to
Chicken
this.
nuggets are not wings.
We'll come back to it.
What I'm saying?
All right, that's going to lead us to our
Thank the Lord.
or the beef of the day, brought to you again by G Burbick Farms. Visit them on the web at gburbickfarms.com, or head on over to New Buffalo Road and give Greg a little fist bump and tell him you want the best beef this side of Mississippi. Ty Bartell, is it a filet day or is it a beef day for you?
Oh, short and sweet. It's a beef. It's the NBA. Go on.
All right, Richie.
Beef as well, but this time it's with I-680. It's been closed for like a week now, and it's like really screwing me up because every day I got to go down to school, and it adds about 10, 15 minutes to my commute down to Youngstown State. So that's really hurting my drive in the morning. I got to wake up like 30 minutes extra just so I could get down there in time.
That semi truck almost took out a bridge.
I know, I heard, but like it's just
that car underneath it? There was a car that was lodged like 6 tires in. I mean, it was unbelievable. Not good. You pray for those people. EB, beef or filet?
I'm going filet. I'm going to go YSN. Fortunately, like, even though we're quarantined, the good thing is I've gotten to see, after tonight, 9 or 10 different players that play for me AAU. So, I got to watch 4 or 5 last night in their games, and then I'll get to watch another 4 or 5 tonight. So even during these times or not being able to go to the games, I can still touch base and watch a lot of these girls play.
Not a boy. Paige says he's getting his wisdom teeth pulled. Doesn't sound like fun.
Mental toughness, dude.
Coach Seidel says his beef is with the OHSAA. Got official word today. Football started back up a week to allow for playoff expansion. Coaching will start August 1st. Throw in acclimation days, and now you have 10 full contact days before games if you take Sundays off.
I love the way that Coach Seidel spells OHSA, by the way. Just to say it, I love it.
Consistency is key, and you're going to get that from Coach Seidel. Paulie, what do you got?
Mine's a filet, and mine's just the fun that my wife is having with this new site that she found to edit videos and put things together. So she's having a blast. She's done a couple for us, and she did one for the MLO Bros, and she is just finding some great gems of clips that are out there from not only Power Hour, but some other guys out there. So she's having a great time. So God bless her. She's having fun.
That's all that matters. Mac, what do you got?
I guess mine's a beef. I think this is a Gary V thing, but I really like it a lot, and I've seen some people, tearing down other people because they're in the same line of business or they're associated with them. There's a lot of space out here in this world. We don't have to tear your building down to be the tallest building. Just keep striving to keep stacking and stacking and stacking until your building's a little bit taller. You don't have to tear down the building across the street just so you're the tallest building in the city.
Love that. My beef today is going to be with on the YSN front. Our guys do a great job and girls do a great job, but we seem to continue to miss the boat when it comes to people ripping on our announcers and really going all in and trying to dissect every word that they say. Like they try their best. Can we just leave them alone for a minute? Let them do their job. They're in a position to make sure you get the game, and let that be all it is, right? We're doing our best. I promise you that. And we'll continue to push the envelope and do our best. But right now, it's not the time to be dissecting their work word for word. So what are you pointing at? Falls Mac.
Come at me. I broadcast games. Come at me. Right there.
Broadcast games. That's the crazy part about it. And some of these guys are and gals are college students. Some are high school students, and they're expecting like Emmy Award winning performances. I'm never going to tell you that we won't put our best foot forward, but mistakes happen, and the emotion runs the game. And a lot of us are kind of cinched into one team or another a lot of times. Not everybody's in a situation that they love every team that we have under the banner. So if one team happens to have a great call and it goes against it, the other team, I'm tired of hearing about how terrible the announcers were, because the next game you'll have your home announcers. That's how it works. That's how YSN works. Leave the announcers alone, because the other option is we don't do the games and then nobody gets to see them. So those are your options. So that's my beef. Take it easy on these people. My goodness gracious. Goodness. Carrie with some last words. This YSN highlight video brought to you by the Morning Beacon, a newspaper so good you'd think we made it up. That is going to do it for our show today. Gentlemen, thanks for joining us. I appreciate it as always. Ty, you finally got your first taste of being kind of grouped up on. So welcome to the club, my friend.
Oh, yeah.
Tomorrow.
Look for more. Let's look forward for more in the future.
3 to 4 right here on YSN Power Hour every weekday right here on YSN. See you guys later.